Good morning, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. Now it is Music Month this week, and I know it's a couple of weeks late, but I've been too busy listening to and reviewing Owl City songs to actually sit down and make this video. But for those of you who don't know what Music Month is, it's when I choose 5 songs and 1 album that I feel represent a certain theme or mood or genre. And this month I thought I would go with the theme Nocturnal November. So these are the songs and the album that I really like to listen to at night. They're the ones that I can go on a long walk by myself that really just sort of help me think and help me feel as well. You know, sometimes you need a little bit of a push emotionally to kind of understand what it is you're feeling, and these are the songs that do that for me. So if you're looking for some new emotive music to listen to on these cold, grim and lonely winter nights, then I'd thoroughly recommend checking out the various tracks I'm going to suggest. Also, these choices were incredibly hard to make. Whenever I do one of these videos, I always kind of create a short list of tracks and then whittle that down to the 5 main ones, but I'm having to choose 6 this time, which is controversial, I know. Anyway, let's start off this list with one that I'm sure lots of you will know already. It's called Me, and it's by the 1975. Taken from their Music for Cars EP, this is easily one of my favourite songs by that band. I have my own very personal attachment and reason that I love that song so much, and I'm sure it's the same for lots of people. It's a very good song for you to develop an emotional attachment to. But even if I were to remove that specific memory from my kind of listening experience of the song and just looked at it as a piece of music, I still think it would be great. It's beautiful both lyrically and in its production, but it's just also like so heart-wrenching as well as just being so real. It's not oversaturated with tired cliches, and it's such a slow-paced song that develops in such a kind of minimal but satisfying way. It's the perfect thing to listen to if you're feeling a bit down and you're going for a walk at night. Track number 2 is by an artist called Tourist and is called You. It's an entirely instrumental track that just follows the same chord progression, but I love it because it captures a sort of introspective atmosphere. When I listen to it, I really like it. Helps me to think about things that I have been struggling to think about for a while, and the repetition of the chord progression is just lovely, and obviously the production is brilliant, and it's just a really good song. Track number 3 is by a very special band that I love very much called Dancing Years, and is called Valentine. Dancing Years are to me a very special group of musicians who, unfortunately, they're not together anymore. The band doesn't exist, but I was lucky enough to see them live in my second year of university, and I actually made a video, I think, talking about my experience of seeing them and how it made me appreciate seeing smaller bands in smaller venues instead of just going to, you know, a stadium and seeing an artist perform there. And yeah, Valentine is my favourite song of theirs, and it's really annoying actually, because when I was at this gig I bought a load of their merch and I got all 3 of the vinyl that they were selling there, and not one of these has actually got that song on it. It only exists in a digital format, which kind of sucks, but oh well. This is a truly wonderful song, kind of slow, jazzy folk vibes to it, with these amazing lyrics and this amazing instrumentation that goes on as well. Like, there's a line in the song that goes, "You always bring me flowers," and after the word flowers there's this single bright piano chord that plays, and I can remember hearing that live and being like, and it's all made so much more emotional to me now because they've broken up. So, you know, I'll never see them live again and they'll never release new music. And there's one line in the song that goes, "So are you in love? 'Cause you're always fine." And it's just executed so brilliantly. It almost like fucking brings a tear to my eye. Track number 4 is called Caught by the Light by a band called the Boxer Rebellion. I found this song because I was watching the American version of Shameless on Netflix, and in a specific episode of, I think, season 5, it's used in the most brilliant way imaginable. It was definitely the most moved I've ever been by a moment in Shameless. It's such a weird song in how it kind of affects you, because it sort of sounds really sad and really grim, but it's kind of not at the same time, even though lyrically it's talking about someone who is dying, like taking their last breaths. And it's a haunting song, and it's definitely one that's got me a few times when I've been walking home by myself at 4 in the morning after a night out. Track number 5 is obviously going to be by Adam Young, because I couldn't exactly not include him in this list. I was going to choose the song Expect Delays featuring Ulrich Schnaus from the Color Therapy album Mr. Wolf is Dead, but the middle section gets a bit too hectic for my taste, so instead what I've chosen is Frigid Airport Lounge from the Port Blue Arctic album. A really great piece of music built heavily around this single synth with a whole lot of delay on it, and it was one of those sort of pivotal tracks that I listened to for the first time when I was 16, 17 years old, and it just made me fall in love with sort of instrumental music and Adam Young's music and the discography of like Port Blue and all of the other side projects. And the Arctic album, which is definitely one of my favorite Port Blue releases because it's a lot more ambient and minimal than some of the other stuff, you can't like find anywhere. I think you can listen to the different tracks on various different YouTube channels, but you can't buy it and you can't stream it from anywhere, and it'd be really cool if you could. Finally, track number 6 on this list is by an artist called The Midnight, who I spoke about quite recently. It's called Tokyo Night Train from his unironically titled Nocturnal EP. As you might imagine, that whole EP is very much nighttime music, but that final track just sort of makes it all for me. That track is just a whole load of layers that gradually build and build and build and then ebb away, and it's just so perfect if you're walking at night or if you're staring out the window or whatever. There's something so hypnotizing about that piece of music. I think it's a combination of the chord progression, the dreamy 80s synths that are used, and just the way it ebbs and flows into itself, and it's a magical piece of music. So that is the final track on this list. So that brings us to this month's album, and I think my ultimate nighttime music album is the self-titled Kiasmos record. Kiasmos is an ambient techno duo formed of Olaf Arnalds and Janus Rasmussen, and they are absolutely fucking wicked. I've been a huge fan of Olaf Arnalds for years. I was gutted that I couldn't get tickets to his Royal Albert Hall show that's happening next year. And the music that he and Janus makes in Kiasmos is unlike anything that I've heard before. It's beautiful, emotional, driven, dissonant. It can be incredibly uncomfortable. It can be amazingly satisfying when something resolves just how you want it to. And they are just the best duo at building soundscapes. Some people won't like this music, and that's fine. You know, ambient, minimalist techno isn't necessarily for everyone. But I would hugely recommend, even if you think that you won't like it, to put on a couple of the tracks on this. Put on Looped, listen to Looped, and just listen to it though, you know, don't have it on in the background. Put some headphones on, listen to it all the way through, and if you are really listening, like, it puts you in a trance. And that's the magic of this sort of music. It's not about having super complex harmonic resolutions or anything like that. It's about building an atmosphere and a soundscape that the listener can completely fall into. And Kiasmos do it better than anyone. My favourite 3 tracks from this are Thrown, Bent and Looped. So there we go, those are my choices for Nocturnal November, and fucking hell, I've only got 1 more month of this that I can do. If you have any ideas of series that I can make after this year, please let me know, because I really like having a sustainable video series that I can make at least one of each month. Anyway, I would love to know what you think of these choices. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Do you have any suggestions of your own of music that you really like to listen to when it's dark and nighttime and you're kind of out and it's like the whole world is asleep and you can just get into your own little world? Let me know all that down in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you very soon.